Hi everyone. Now I'm going to start talking about driver. First, you need to know what is driver. Driver is like a software bridge between processor and devices. It can parse the data sent by the device and performs corresponding operations. This image is the procedure of creating a driver. If you don't have a driver package, you need to create a driver source or import a driver source, then package it into a driver package, then bind it to the device in Project Manager. If you already have a driver package, you can import that driver package, then bind it to the device in Project Manager. Now let's come to the edge control software. We can see in Driver Manager, there are source and package. If we need to create a driver source, we need to right-click the user define here and create a new driver. Type here, we can choose normal or with UI. If we choose with UI, we can design a UI here. And the UI you design it here can be directly used in UI Designer. We name it test 1. Description here, if it is needed, you can enter it. And version 1. And version node, if it is needed, you can enter it. Protocol info. Here we can configure the protocol's name and choose the port type. Here we can choose COM, Ethernet, IR, Relay, or I/O. For Ethernet, here we can choose the protocol, TCP, UDP, HTTP, or WebSocket. And here we can select client or server. Delimiter. If delimiter is needed, you can enter the delimiter. And here you can add more protocols. You can add up to 5 protocols. And here we can see there is an all valid. If all valid is selected, the codes corresponding to all protocols in driver can be executed. And if you're not selected, only the protocol selected in driver test or project take effect. Then we press OK. In Page Explorer, here we can click to add user interface. And we can choose a theme. I'll review it. Here we can set the width and height. And after creating it, you can see a page in Page Explorer. And if you need to create a new page, you just need to right-click it and create a new page. Just like what we did in UI Designer. They are all the same. And here I'm going to talk about the programming part that belongs to the driver manager. Let's come to the main first. Main. The code written in main is the first to execute when the driver loads, and some of the necessary operations for driver initialization can be encoded here. And properties. The content configured in properties can be called everywhere in the driver. Each property has a default value, which can be selected as a default value in driver testing or engineering device configuration. Like if we need to test the driver, here we can choose the protocol. And it supports up to 20 properties at most. It means that you can create up to 20 properties here. When you create a driver, it will automatically set up a system property called protocol. This property type is string, and its default value is the name of the first protocol tab. the first protocol you created, you added, is the default value of the protocol. And we can right-click to create new properties. The properties can be of integer, string, or bool. Enumeration and non-enumeration are supported. After enumeration is selected, you can add options here, and you need to configure them. And for non-enumeration, only default value need to be configured. And the variable here is to define global variables. Timer. This timer only can be called in driver programming, used to trigger timer events at fixed event intervals. And for the feature, I'll talk about it later. For driver events, it is like noticed. It usually used to pass the data for event programming after receiving and parsing the feedback message from devices. And here under the protocol, there we can see there are communication and function under each protocol. And under the TCP, there are on open, on message, on close under the communication. The codes written in on open will be executed when establishing the connection. And on message, it will perform actions when receiving a message. On close, the codes written in on close will be executed after this connection. Function. Function is the external function interface of the driver, which usually sends commands corresponding to the specific function of the device. It can be called anywhere in the driver. For example, we can send commands to the device, and I'll create one. The name is customized, and parameters here we can choose with no parameters, or we can define parameters. Here we can choose integer, string, bool, double, char, byte, data, time, JSON object, or JSON array. And if one is not enough, we can create more parameters. And here we can set it to return. We can set with no return or with return. The description, if it is needed, you can enter it and press OK. Then we can use the send API to send message. After creating a function, now I'm going to talk about the feature. You can realize the function control of equipment by calling the driver feature. It means that if you need to call driver in UI Designer, the function you call is the feature here. So you need to create a new feature, and name it send message. Then we need to call the send function here. We need to call the send function. Then we can call this send message feature in UI Designer. And if you want to test the code, you can click the debug here. It's driver test. Here we need to configure some information. We need to select the IP host. We need to enter the IP. Here we need to choose the protocol and configure the information. Then we upload this driver, then we can test this driver. And after finishing programming the driver, we need to package it. We need to right-click the source and package. The name is customized and version is customized too. Then we need to choose the location. and the driver package is here. Now we're back to the project manager. We create a new device and name it test2. Then we click here to add driver. This is the driver package we created. And here we can choose the protocol we want and press OK. Then we double click it to add it to the device explorer. Now we come to the UI designer, and here we can see in UI device, it will show the UI we created in driver manager, and we can double click it to add it to the page. And if we need to call driver, we need to select call driver and select the device and choose the feature. The send message feature is what I created here. And we right click the user define. Here we can import the driver source. The driver source is and with dr, it means driver. Here we successfully import a driver source. And also we can export it. Here we can set a password or not to set a password. If we set a password when exporting the driver source, once you import it, you need to enter the password too. And here we need to choose the location, then we press OK. And we will successfully export a driver source. And the same to driver package, here we can import or export the driver package. And that's all for the basic operation and basic introduction of the driver manager.